FGC and content creation. Now, Rob TV actually did a podcast where he had Maximilian, Sonic Fox, NYC Furby, Brian F, and others, where they actually went over content creation, how important it is not only to for the FGC, but if you're somebody who wants to get sponsored. Now, Maximilian came from many points where he was talking about how, for a long time when it came to like FGC, he didn't have a lot of competition. It seemed like it wasn't until like the pandemic came that it pushed people to, if you wanted the FGC to survive and you wanted to do something with it, it was going to have to be online. So a lot of people pushed to actually making content. And Brian F and Sonic Fox actually talked about how important it is to actually make content if you want to be a player that's sponsored, or you want to bring something else to the table of a brand, because just pressing buttons won't be good enough anymore. Let me see. Is there something else that they said that I'm missing? But yeah, so they were just talking about how it seems like they were also saying like how a lot of people in the FGC who are players seem like they just don't want to make the content. They use the word saying that they seem like they're lazy. But basically at the end of the day, people just seeming like they're not wanting to make content. So we just want to talk about that, and just what do you think? Do you feel like the FGC can do better with its content curation and things like that? And I guess I'll go ahead and kick it off. I can understand what they're saying from a business standpoint when it comes to sponsorships. Like, hey, yeah, you might go to a tournament and win and all that other stuff, but at the end of the day, like we just talked about before in the last topic, I mean, if you get first place at a major, it's not like you're making a lot. And yeah, you might be, you wearing your jersey, you get on cam in front of thousands of people and stuff like that, but it might not be a lot of time, that you actually do it in the grand scheme of things and stuff like that. So I just lost my train of thought that fast. Okay, picked it back up. So when you think about stuff like that, you can understand why a brand would be like, hey, we need you to do more of getting yourself out there, building an audience, getting our sponsors looked at and all that other stuff, and build your value to where we will continue to make sure that we fund you, because we see that you have so many eyes and stuff on you that it's worth us continuing to pay you, because you're bringing in so much guapo basically, and so many eyes on our brands. Because that's basically what a sponsorship is. Like, hey, I'll sponsor you and we'll work out this and this and this, and we'll do this and this and this, and we need you to do that and that and that, so we can make sure that the sponsors that the sponsor has, because like, let's just throw out a random sponsor, Team Gecko. They might be sponsored by Logitech and all these different things that you see on their jersey. They want to make sure that they get eyes on the people that they're sponsored by or they're partnered with.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that you're a system or a business or a brand that can get yourself in their respect the sponsors as much clout, like we'll say, as you can, get eyes on them. So it's not enough to just be a player, be like, look, I showed up to Combo Breaker, I got first, and I left. You won't see me again until Evo. I came in, I won, I left.
Right.
And we don't see you until tournaments and stuff like that. So it's really no value in that. I mean, yeah, you great, but how much exposure you gonna get us, God dog? So unless you're going to stuff to where you can promise us like, hey, these random invitationals that you'll go to, I think MK had a tournament one time when they gave away $100,000.
Oh, yeah.
Capcom Cup gives away $100,000 and stuff like that. Unless you can guarantee you go win them every time they come up, you the Sonic Fox it is. You need to do something else. So I can understand where they're coming from. And as far as like a FGC drought when it comes to content, if you compare it to other and they talked about this on the podcast, because they say MK and Smash is definitely like one of the biggest areas that you can go into as far as content curation with the FGC. And it seems like Capcom is one of the not so popular ones. And, that might be because Street Fighter 5, Max said this, Street Fighter 5 came out and it was so bad, so trash, that people still put that stigma on it till today. And Sonic Fox says that's why he never picked it up, because he lost interest so fast with the release. It was just like, I'm playing other stuff by now. So,
Right.
he was like, I'm upset and got so good. So, but yeah, so you know, we create content and stuff like that. And sometimes when we'll look around, sometimes I will say to myself, I'm like, man, it just doesn't seem like there's a lot. Like, yeah, there's a lot of posting like match clips, fights, in the game,
Yeah.
and all that other stuff. Like, there's a lot of reactions to stuff like that. But the stuff like hold back to block does, you don't see a lot of that. Like he's basically the only one, or one of few. Let me not say the only one.
Mhm.
When you see like what TVFGC does, where we do like news, you got us, you got Button Check, and you got our boy Trojan. He's starting to do news, but I mean everybody else. I've researched FGC news, and there's been like probably two other people, but they've come and gone. They don't do it anymore.
Oh, wow.
You know, if you look at like, one thing I like to always take is like, if you go look at NBA social media, like all the type of content and stuff they have for that, it's massive. It's wild. Any type of content you can name, deep dives, theories, match analysis, what ifs, all types of stuff. They have it, and it's like such an area for. And the FGC is a place that you really don't even have to invent the wheel. Just feel a space.
Right.
TVFGC News isn't really inventing the wheel. It's just filling a space.
Yeah.
Input output, it isn't, making the first airplane. It's just filling a space. Interviews, it's just filling a space, because we don't have these things consistently. So I'm gonna go ahead and let you go. I feel like I just talked for 50 minutes. So I'm gonna go I'm gonna go ahead and let you go because these topics I can definitely talk about. So what's your thoughts on content creation in the FGC? Is it a lack of it? Do you agree that sponsored players, if you have a desire to be sponsored, that you do need to make content?
Oh, man. I feel like even if you this is just my opinion, I feel like even if you aren't sponsored, I think it's a good idea to make FGC content. Um, like I said, yeah, I would agree with you. I think there's not a whole lot of FGC content that's outside of like, like match, like matches and stuff like that. Like some people are outliers and they'll go like do like deep dives into like, learning how to play characters, do character guides and stuff, which is great. I think like um some of the stuff, like I started playing DNF Duel a little while ago, and some of the stuff that I learned in Rooflemonger's video about how to play the grappler has really like. I'm gonna be honest, like I'm not a particularly good player, and but there have been every match that I've had, like the last like 10 matches I've played. If I felt like winning the match, I was going to win the match. That's all I'm going to say. So it, that's just how it goes. It's like if I'm like, oh, you know what, I want to win this match, and then I win the match. Like that's just what happens. So that I mean, with that kind of content is like the kind of instructional stuff, But then of course you're talking about like news and everything, and it's doing new stuff. I think is like a little challenging because it's like you kind of want to strike when you have to kind of strike when the iron is hot every single
Yeah.
time. Like you have to be on point. You have to have your ear to the ground, nose in the air, like the whole time. You got to be ready. You better. That's some news. That's my. Yes, another news topic. You got to be
Yeah, when
like,
the pandemic was in full swing, it seemed like that was releasing a trailer every 30 seconds. Man, you had to be on that pretty heavy.
you
Do you
take it.
feel like there's a lack of content in the FGC? Because I know you said before, it's like a lot of it is just like game clips and stuff like that. So do you feel like it's a lack of content?
Oh man, oof. I would say maybe. I would say because like yeah, there are a whole lot of clips out there, man.
Let me say a lack of variety, because there might not be a lack of content because there's so many just clips, but lack of variety in content.
Yes, I would say that. I would say that there is like in fact a lack of variety, you know. And like and I mean like you were saying before, and you don't have to reinvent the wheel, man. Like you really don't. Like it's there's certain like you said, fill like the man said, fill the space, man. Like we're not the first people to do a podcast. We are not the first people to do a fighting game podcast. We're not the first people to do a fighting game podcast like in like probably like in the United States. You know what I mean? Like we're not the first to do any of this stuff. We just happen to do it really well. So I mean, that's just what we do. And I think like it's we're talking about like striving for excellence in everything you do, right? And if you want to be like somebody who's a sponsored player and like that's something that's really important to you, then you got to excel and set yourself apart. What sets you apart from other fighting game players? They're not, or most of them aren't making content. They're not making content. They're going to a match, like going to a what's called tournament, going 0-2, and then like, and trying to do a super on wake up, man. Like you gotta like distinguish yourself from everybody else. And yeah, I think content creation is definitely because it shows that you're willing, especially like in this kind of environment, it shows that you're willing to take the extra step, go the extra mile in order to make yourself attractive to sponsors. And I think that's a big deal. Like you want to like be attracted to sponsors. What do you got to do? I got to make a video every week about like like how I feel about like this kind of mechanic. What do I feel about neutral, about the definition of neutral, about Oki? What are my insights about Oki? What I think about frame data and stuff like that. Like there's a lot, like so many like topics and mechanics that are within the FGC that are unexplored, that are somewhere unexplored. Like you have somebody like Stephen Main, like who goes on and does like deep dives into like Street Fighter theory and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I,
him and Cookie do a great job at that.
yeah, like that's some stuff. I'm gonna be honest. I'd never seen anybody do that before. I'd never seen it. That was something that I'd never seen before. Somebody be like, yeah, so I went and I did like some serious detective work, and because of this, and this, Elena is deaf. I'm telling you, that's the story that sticks with me the most. Like I like the whole thing about G being like this like immense evil force. I remember that, but the one for some reason that sticks with me the most is that thing about Elena being deaf and the whole beats in my head thing. And I'm like, oh, you know what? That kind of makes sense. See, nobody had ever done that before, so it was just like, oh man, I'd never seen that before. So that was really cool. I like that a lot. Um, yeah, man. I would say that like yeah, there's not as much variety as I'd like, but I will say that most of the stuff that I've seen in the FGC, like the content that I've seen, I actually really enjoy. Like even the stuff where like people just clip their matches. Like there's some really good match clips out there, man. I'm telling you, like real